Temporary protected status, often referred to as TPS, is a crucial form of humanitarian relief. It provides a temporary immigration status, offering safety and stability to eligible individuals already present in the United States. It is a humanitarian immigration status offered by the U.S. government, designed to provide a haven during times of crisis in their home countries. It's important to understand that TPS is not a pathway to a green card, which grants permanent residency, or to U.S. citizenship. Instead, it's a temporary safe haven, a vital lifeline for people already residing in the U.S. who face extraordinary circumstances that prevent their safe return home. These circumstances are often beyond their control. Countries are designated for TPS primarily due to ongoing armed conflict or war, which renders the country unsafe for its nationals to return. Natural disasters, such as devastating hurricanes, earthquakes causing widespread destruction, or severe flooding, can also lead to a TPS designation. TPS can also be granted due to other extraordinary and temporary conditions, such as severe political unrest, a crippling economic crisis, or a widespread humanitarian crisis that prevents the safe return of a country's citizens. The Department of Homeland Security, specifically through the Secretary of Homeland Security, holds the authority to decide which countries qualify for TPS designation. Nationals of designated countries who meet specific eligibility requirements can apply for TPS, and upon approval, they gain two key benefits. The first and perhaps most critical benefit is protection from deportation, ensuring they will not be removed from the United States. The second key benefit is the authorization to work legally in the U.S., typically provided through a work permit. This work authorization allows them to live and work legally in the U.S., contributing to the economy and supporting their families while their home country undergoes the difficult process of recovery. TPS is not a permanent solution. It is granted for a defined period, often ranging from 6 to 18 months initially. The TPS designation for a country and the status of each individual recipient must be reviewed and potentially renewed before it expires to ensure continued eligibility and protection. The Secretary of Homeland Security makes the crucial decision whether to extend the protection for another period or to terminate the TPS designation altogether. This decision is carefully based on a thorough assessment of the current conditions in the designated country, considering factors like safety, stability, and the extent of recovery efforts. If a country demonstrates significant stabilization and improvement, allowing for the safe return of its citizens, the TPS designation can be terminated. However, if conditions remain precarious, an extension may be granted. Due to the prolonged nature of some crises, many TPS holders have resided in the U.S. for many years, building lives and families while remaining in a state of uncertainty about their long-term future. TPS provides a legal pathway for them to remain in the U.S. and contribute to society, offering a sense of stability until it is deemed safe for them to return to their home countries. For hundreds of thousands of individuals and families, TPS has been more than just a legal status. It's been a lifeline, allowing them to build meaningful lives, raise their children, and actively contribute to the economic and social fabric of their communities across the United States. However, the inherent temporary nature of TPS means that a degree of uncertainty is always looming, creating anxiety and concern about the future for these individuals and families. In 2025, the Department of Homeland Security, led by Secretary Kristi Noem, made sweeping changes to TPS. Protections for people from Haiti, Venezuela, and Nicaragua were ended or shortened, creating fear and uncertainty for hundreds of thousands. The administration argued TPS was never meant to be permanent, aiming to restore its original intent. Venezuela's 2023 TPS designation was terminated, while Haiti's extension was cut from 18 to 12 months. Nicaragua's status remains, but its future is under review. These decisions forced affected communities to scramble for options as expiration dates approached. Critics argue that conditions in these countries remain dire, making the policy shift dangerous. The administration insists it's about upholding the law, not closing doors on those in need. The result, a clash between humanitarian concerns and a strict interpretation of immigration law. The stage is set for legal and personal battles as families face the loss of protection. Venezuelans in the U.S. face a confusing split due to two separate TPS designations, one from 2021, another from 2023. The 2023 designation, covering the largest group, was terminated effective April 6, 2025, stripping protection from hundreds of thousands. Those under the 2021 designation retain TPS until September 10, 2025, but their future is uncertain, pending a decision by July 12. This division has split families and left many in limbo. Legal challenges to the 2023 termination reached the Supreme Court, which allowed the administration to proceed while lawsuits continue. The result? Some Venezuelans lost status overnight, while others anxiously await the next decision. The arbitrary nature of these designations highlights the fragility of TPS. For many, the difference between safety and deportation comes down to a date on a government form. The community remains on edge, watching the calendar and the courts. The 2025 policy changes represent a significant shift in the landscape of immigration, particularly for those under temporary protected status. These changes signal a move away from the more lenient policies of the past. These policy adjustments also hit the Haitian community hard, creating considerable anxiety and uncertainty. The impact is similarly felt within Nicaraguan communities, leaving many families in a state of precariousness. Haitians saw their TPS extension abruptly shortened, a decision that sent shockwaves through the community. This meant that their protection was now ending on August 3, 2025, a date etched in the minds of many. Nearly 500,000 Haitians must now grapple with the reality of an earlier deadline, forcing them to make difficult choices. Nicaraguans have TPS through July 5, 2025, a date that looms large on their horizon. They face an imminent decision on whether their status will be extended, offering a glimmer of hope, or ended, plunging them into further uncertainty. Both groups are left in limbo, caught between hope and fear. They are unsure if they'll be forced to leave the country, a prospect that fills them with dread. This is the country they've called home for years, where they've built lives and established communities. The administration's message is clear. A shift in approach is underway. TPS will no longer be extended indefinitely, marking a departure from previous practices. For families who have built lives, started businesses, contributing to the economy and enriching their communities, and raised children in the U.S., investing in their future, and integrating into American society, the threat of losing everything is real, casting a long shadow over their hopes and dreams. The shortened timelines create panic and urgency, forcing families to make hasty decisions under immense pressure. They have little time to plan, leaving them feeling overwhelmed and vulnerable. Memories of past termination attempts haunt these communities, stirring up anxieties and fears. The uncertainty is profound, creating a sense of instability and unease, and the stakes are higher than ever, with the potential for devastating consequences. For many, those who have strived to build a better life, the American dream is now at risk, hanging in the balance amidst policy shifts and uncertain futures. Alongside TPS changes, the administration ended the CHNV humanitarian parole program, which allowed up to 30,000 people per month from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela to enter and work in the U.S. for 2 years. In May 2025, DHS revoked legal status for hundreds of thousands who used this pathway, telling them to prepare to leave. The program's end closed a vital legal route for those fleeing crisis. Those already here lost work authorization and now face deportation. Legal challenges followed, but the Supreme Court allowed the termination to proceed while lawsuits continue. The sudden end left families in chaos with no clear options. The crackdown on both TPS and parole programs signals a new era of restriction. For many, hope for safety in the U.S. vanished overnight. These abrupt policy changes are not just abstract legal matters, they have a massive human impact, touching the lives of hundreds of thousands of individuals and families. The consequences reverberate through communities, creating widespread uncertainty and fear. The end of Venezuela's 2023 TPS designation alone, a decision that has sent shockwaves through the Venezuelan diaspora, affected over 250,000 active holders, individuals who had built lives and contributed to our society, with hundreds of thousands more eligible, now facing an uncertain future and the daunting prospect of navigating complex legal pathways. TPS holders are spread across states like Florida, where they have established roots and become integral parts of the local economy. Texas, home to vibrant immigrant communities that contribute significantly to the state's cultural and economic landscape. New York and California, states that have long welcomed immigrants and benefited from their diverse talents and contributions, where they are vital members of their communities, enriching the social fabric and driving economic growth. The CHNV parole program's end, A decision that abruptly terminated a lifeline for many, left more than 500,000 people from 4 countries, Haiti, Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, suddenly without legal status, plunging them into a state of legal limbo and uncertainty. Families who had enrolled children in school and found jobs, contributing to their communities and building a stable life, now face chaos and the threat of deportation, a devastating prospect that could tear families apart. The ripple effects are enormous: lost jobs, housing instability, and psychological stress, creating a cascade of negative consequences for individuals and communities alike. U.S. citizen children may be separated from parents, a heartbreaking scenario that can have long-lasting emotional and psychological effects, or forced to move to unfamiliar countries, disrupting their education, social connections, and sense of belonging. Local economies will feel the loss, as these individuals and families are forced to leave, taking their skills, talents, and purchasing power with them. As businesses lose employees, creating labor shortages and hindering economic growth, and neighborhoods lose valued members, weakening the social fabric and diminishing the sense of community. The numbers are staggering, representing a significant disruption to the lives of hundreds of thousands of people, but the real cost is measured in disrupted lives, in the hopes and dreams that are shattered, and in the families that are torn apart. These are not just statistics. They are real people with stories, families, and aspirations. They are neighbors, co-workers, and friends who contribute to our communities in countless ways. The uncertainty touches every corner of affected communities, creating a climate of fear and anxiety that undermines the well-being of everyone. The administration's moves sparked immediate legal battles. Advocacy groups and affected individuals filed lawsuits, arguing the government acted unlawfully and ignored dangerous conditions in home countries. Courts issued temporary orders, pausing some terminations, but the Supreme Court allowed the administration to proceed while cases continue. This legal back and forth creates a roller coaster of hope and despair for families. A lower court victory can be overturned in days, leaving people in limbo. Even if challengers eventually win, many may have already lost status and work permits. The legal process is slow, but the consequences are immediate. For now, the administration's policies are in effect, and the future of TPS and parole remains uncertain. The fight continues in the courts, but time is running out for many. The stakes could not be higher for those whose lives hang in the balance. Ending TPS means losing work authorization for hundreds of thousands. Without valid employment authorization documents, TPS holders can't work legally, forcing employers to terminate valued staff. Industries like construction, hospitality, and healthcare will feel the loss most acutely. Local economies suffer as workers lose income and businesses lose experienced employees. The ripple effect extends to landlords, schools, and service providers. For employers, it means costly turnover and labor shortages. For families, it means lost income and increased hardship. The end of work authorization is not just an immigration issue, it's an economic crisis. Communities across the country will feel the impact. The loss of TPS workers is a blow to the entire nation. With protections ending, TPS holders face agonizing choices. Most have no clear legal path to stay. Asylum is difficult and family-based options are slow. Many must choose between leaving or living undocumented, risking deportation and losing the ability to work. The government still must decide the fate of Venezuelans under the 2021 designation and Nicaraguans, with decisions due soon. The administration must also manage the fallout possible increases in irregular migration and strain on enforcement. Advocates urge Congress to create a path to permanent residency for long-term TPS holders. Without legislative action, the cycle of uncertainty and hardship will continue. The story of TPS in 2025 is still unfolding. Its outcome will shape the lives of hundreds of thousands and the nation's character. For now, hope and fear exist side by side as families wait for answers.